Hey everybody, this is Casey at Seahorse Oracle, and it's been a while since I did a collective reading for everyone, and I've just recently moved interstate from New South Wales to Queensland, so that was a big process, and I've been in my own metamorphosis for some time with that, and now I feel pretty solid, pretty here in this new place and this new energy. So yeah, it felt like the right time to do a collective reading, and seeing as I'm in a new place, I wanted to officially take a moment to thank and acknowledge and bow to the ancestors of this land that I'm on now. I had worked in New South Wales on that land for a long time and have always had a very good relationship with the ancestral energies of that part of the world, and I intend to do the same here. So thank you to the ancestors of this place for pulling me here and giving me a very beautiful and very nurturing home for my animals and I couldn't have dreamed up anything better. Thank you to those ancestors of the earth and also the ancestors of the Indigenous people that have been here for a long, long, long time. And I also want to say thank you to my own ancestors before I start this reading. And I want to acknowledge my beautiful teachers that have birthed me and facilitated me more deeply into my own energy of my own self. And yeah, so thank you very much to Marianne Azzarello, Roberta Wagner, Pauline Wynne, all my ancestors in Europe, and my ancestors in Holland and Spain. Okay, so as usual, I'm going to start clearing the deck. Some of you who have attended my classes will know that I do a reading the same every time I have those protocols, so bear with me. Okay. So I'm just going to ask what we all need to know collectively for the now. I'm not going to focus on any particular questions because sometimes I feel like the cards might have something to say that's outside of our realm of what we want to know, which can sometimes be a little bit of a tunnel vision depending on our level of awareness. So I'm going to ask the cards and the ancestors what we actually require at this time, rather than asking a specific question, because I feel like it gives more openness for allowing whatever answer to come through, which might not be what we expect. Divine Mother, Divine Father, all beings in alignment with the highest good of myself and all people who will be seeing this reading today. Please give clear, unconditional love and guidance for us at this time. Please give clear, unconditional love and guidance for anyone who needs to receive the message at this time through this reading for the highest good of Earth and all galaxies and all planets and all people and all animals. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 cards wanted to come up here, so I'm just going to do a Celtic cross today. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. So I didn't really specify a time frame, but generally when I look at 10 cards in this form, I generally look at about 12 months. And the central position of the cards is generally now and the near future, and then the last 4 cards is generally later on in the year. So what I can see here is that obviously it is a big transformational year. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major arcana cards out of 10 total, so that's half of the reading being major arcana cards, which is significant because that indicates big growth periods and big soul contracts of going through archetypal energies that we have already decided before we incarnated here that we were going to learn about and embody and embrace the wisdom of those particular archetypes. So we are going through processes of growth and embodying certain archetypes and understanding them more deeply. All of the readings that I do are always for the highest good of all involved, and that includes on Earth and in other star systems. So we cannot forget that we are actually living in a bigger community than what we think we are. So this information is not just for humans. This information is for animals. It is for all beings that we deal with on a day-to-day level that we might not know are with us or around us or experiencing life with us on other dimensions as well. So the growth is big. I mean, it's obvious. I don't even need to spell that out to most of you because we can all see what's happening. So the central cards here, we've got, okay, so we've got difficulties arising in our experience because we have resistance to trusting our intuition and our deeper feminine decision-making process. The feminine decision-making process is the decision-making process that might not look like it makes any sense to you know, the rational mind, but it's a decision that you need to make because you feel it's the right one. It might not be a decision that needs to be made because A plus B equals C. It's much more about following the signs and listening to the feedback that you're getting and following your gut and your intuition. So that is placed in this reading in a position of difficulty, showing that we are not, in fact, listening and following our intuitive sensibilities, our feminine gifts, as much as we should be. And this goes for men and women, because men also have those intuitive feminine abilities, obviously, within them too. It's showing here in the central position that we are reaching the point where we can't continue as we are, because the burden of trying to do everything, maybe with too much of the rational mind, is not working for us anymore. So as the Ten of Wands, we are not carrying our energy effectively. We are carrying our energy in a way that is burdensome and heavy because we are not embracing our feminine abilities in our decision-making process and the way we live our lives. So there's got to be a big softening and a big focus on listening and becoming more of a passive container versus an active, full-on, go-get-'em, masculine, directed energy. We need to all stop, slow down, soften, and in our process before moving forward, we need to allow things to land with us, and then we have to see, oh, how do I actually feel about that before I make a decision. So sometimes that just means that you might need to give yourself a moment before you make a decision. Sometimes we feel pressured if somebody says to you, for example, oh, can you do this, blah, 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 so-and-so on Friday. We feel like we have to give that person an answer straight away when, in fact, we don't. If you're one of those people that has a little bit of difficulty feeling your intuitive responses, or you need more time to actually let that sit and think, is that actually the right thing for me? You do have the ability to say, look, I'll get back to you. I just have to check my calendar, or I just have to sit with that. And then you can take space to go into your decision-making process and say, actually, I'll just feel with this and see if that's the right thing for me to do on Friday, or whatever the thing is that you're contemplating. So we need to actually start coming back to our gentleness and our softness in our approach, and that instead of all the energy flowing outwards, the energy needs to start flowing back inwards, if that makes sense, so we can actually feel it and go, what does that feel like? That's the central point. So down the base of the reading, it's showing that the foundation of this next year, or the foundation of what our experience is, which is kind of like the underlying energy, is showing us that we are going to feel quite restricted. So this card represents feeling hemmed in, feeling like we aren't able to spread out and grow and be our full selves, feeling a bit bound and a bit stuck. So people may be feeling that way this year. The message of this card, though, is that it's an illusionary state. It's not actually the reality of things. It's how we are perceiving it. So what we actually need to do in response to this feeling of being bound or stuck is that we need to really question how we are holding ourselves in that state and how we are enabling the situation of being tied down or stuck, or not being able to stretch and expand and move forward and fully exhale. So if you feel stuck or kind of hemmed in this year, it's just an invitation for you to work on how you are enabling that within yourself, and how you are not stepping through fear barriers and taking up all of the space that is you, and expanding regardless of what that hemmed in feeling is trying to tell you is reality. It's not reality. the reality is that you are allowed to be as expressive or as contained as you choose. And sometimes it's fine to be contained. You don't always have to be taking up a lot of space. But if you feel bound and stuck, then it's a sign that you're kind of in the cocoon and you're ready to get out of the cocoon, but for some reason you're not allowing yourself to bust out of your cocoon. So the foundation of this year is about learning how to step through fear energies and bust out of any cocoon state that's keeping you really hemmed in and making you feel like you can't move forward in some way, whether it's, it could be with your work, it could be with relationships, it could be anything. It's a general card. It's talking about your psychological limitations that you place on yourself and how you need to understand that they are not reality. They are just a perception that you have the choice to go beyond. So it's showing that the legal stuff that's been going on in the in the world at the moment, as far as all of this balancing things in the legal system and all of the looking at elements of fairness and justice. This is a major arcana card that's come up, the card of justice. It does refer to the courts, it does refer to law, it also refers to karma. People experiencing their own levels of karma in order to bring about a balance in the soul. So sometimes there is a reason why something might not go your way. It might be actually a beneficial thing, because in the long term you might have need to settle the score with that person to come back to a point of equilibrium and balance. So don't assume that every time you lose that it wasn't for your highest good. Generally speaking, when the justice card comes up, it's about understanding that there is a bigger balance coming forward that is beyond your personal experience. It's not about you, it's a bigger picture. And so we need to not take things quite so personally when the justice card is around, because we have to trust that the universal order of things is being looked after. It's not up to me as an individual to decide the fate of somebody else. The world, the higher self or spirit, whatever you want to call it, is taking care of that. That's not my job. My job is to pay attention to me and what I can do for me. My job is not to barge into somebody else's life and tell them what is right and wrong for them. Their own equilibrium and balance is coming into a state of harmony with their relationship with spirit, with their personal relationship with their higher self and spirit. It's not up to any of us to step in and mediate that. So the next card, which is the card in this reading which represents our highest possible outcome, or the positivity that can be coming from the situation, shows us that we need to spend time in introspection, internal focus, looking within, getting more connected to ourselves. So this is the card of the Hermit, and it shows that when you spend a significant amount of time turning your vision inwards and not focusing on the external, what's happening on the TV, what's happening in America, what's happening over there, what's happening over there, this is all a lovely distraction from what's happening in here. So this is a card which is showing that this year for us needs to be about self-development, reflection, and pulling our energy back towards ourselves and getting clear so that we can have our own personal insight about what's happening around us. So if we are aware of what our personal lesson is in regard to what's happening in the external world, then we find a deeper level of harmony within ourselves as a response to what is happening in the external world. So that's quite an important point to understand. My response to what's happening in the external world, that is what I'm responsible for, and that is where I gain insight. That is where you gain insight by bringing yourself into the state of the hermit, which is basically spending enough time in your own personal energy and in reflection, sometimes away from people. I know that not everybody can do that, but spending time alone is often what's required for us to really hear our own vibration, because when you're around other people, you're navigating their vibration as well as your own. So sometimes we need to just get some space to be with ourselves and feel our own vibration. And it's much easier for them for us to have our own personal insight through embodying the hermit. And it allows us to find stillness when there's a lot of distraction happening. So we need to continue to anchor our own energy internally and keep stepping back into ourselves and embody that, pulling back into me and my response and my feeling. And I know that that sounds a little bit selfish, but in a way, if it's a microcosm response, if you have more harmony within yourself because you're checking in with yourself all the time, you're actually radiating more harmony into the world. So it's actually not a selfish thing. It's actually bringing a clearer contribution, a clearer energetic signature to the people around you and to the planet when you are more in harmony internally. And so this is the reason for embodying the hermit and for being connected to self and for having the quiet space to really connect to how you're feeling and your internal process and what insight you're taking from what's happening around you in the circus that we are currently living in. Okay, so in the position of the next 3 months, the short-term future, we've got another major arcana card, so more big changes coming. Big changes. So this card represents karmic interactions, and generally quite positively, not necessarily things falling down. We're moving into the Wheel of Fortune. So what that card is representing in the reading is this is a time when you're going to be aligned with people that you're supposed to be working with. You're going to be aligned with people that are really important for your journey. You're going to be touching base with people that you need to close contracts with and open new contracts with, whether it's for your own personal development or whether it's for work or anything like that. It's an opening and a closing time. There's a gateway of energy that's becoming available, and it's generally considered a very good luck card. So these are interactions and people that you're going to meet that are going to be important for your journey, that are going to feel often like a really wonderful synchronicity. It's like, oh, I'm so glad I ran into you at the shop today. You just seem like the perfect person to help me with the next step of this project, etc., etc. It may seem like an accidental meeting, but it's not. So this card is really saying that we've got some good karma and some good alignments happening for us to help us move forward, and we need to embrace anything that comes along which seems like it's a bit out of the blue, but ultimately you can trust that it is a positive thing for your development and that you should step forward with any chance encounters. And you may meet people that you feel like you've known for a long time, but you've just met them, and those are important people for your development. So that's a very positive card. I just want to say here that as much as we're in a pretty interesting time at the moment, the outcome of this reading in the next 6 months is actually very positive and shows a wonderful amount of growth and healing. So basically it looks like we are pretty much going through a lot of turmoil currently, but it is going to significantly improve for the benefit of everybody, because we are looking at these major arcana cards. We're looking at more of a collective energy as well, not so much just about individuals, because these are archetypes, and archetypes are basically energies that present themselves that are showing us an aspect of who we are. And when we balance these different archetypes and begin to learn their wisdom and understand what they are, then you can in fact bring that wisdom forward into your life and also into the lives of the people that you meet. So it is expansive and growth oriented, and it's not necessarily the difficult, hard road for the next 6 months. It's actually more of the ease and the flow and the grace, which, you know, I'm personally very happy to see myself, because, you know, I've been through a big transformation in the last 6 to 12 months, just like a lot of other people have. And I think we would all be really grateful for a bit of smooth sailing, albeit we know that we do need to continue to be on our focused path and bringing our energy back and being responsible for ourselves with the Hermit card. But yeah, it's time to meet new people and step forward into a new energy, which I think is fantastic, and I feel positive about that. So Page of Wands is here. So new beginnings, hard work. New beginnings and hard work with the Eight of Pentacles. This is actually not a bad thing. It, you know, when we work for something and when we put in energy and investment in something that we feel really good about, then it does make success feel valid and earned, and it helps us to refine our skills. So these cards are showing that over the next 6 months is going to be about learning new exciting things in your life. If you've been thinking about study, it's a good time to start studying something new. It's a good time to sign up for a course to enhance the skills that you already have. You might decide, oh, I've been functioning at this level for a while, but I'd like to go to another level. I'd like to learn something extra on top of my base foundations that I've already created. So it can be an expansion of what you already do, or it can be a whole new thing. So Page of Wands is really about spiritual growth and passion as well. So it's about following your passion of what you feel excited to do, rather than just focusing on earning money and doing a job that pays the bills. You will be required to start at the bottom and go through one step at a time. And there's a reason why you have to learn things in stages. Even though you might be very proficient in a particular area, we have to remember that when we start on a new journey, we have to become the Fool, and we have to be in zero. If we don't come back to zero and understand that we are beginning anew, then, you know, arrogance or a sense of I know can actually block us from receiving valuable information or receiving something that we didn't expect. So there is a huge gift in actually pulling yourself back and behaving like a beginner and being curious and learning from a state of curiosity. And I wonder what new things I can get from this, rather than I've done this all before, just give me the information. Sometimes you miss things when you have this attitude. So it's good to just rewind and come back to zero and say, okay, I'm going to pretend I know nothing about this and I'm just going to soak it all in. There might be something I'm going to learn that I didn't know I needed to know. So this is a time for embracing step-by-step protocols to learning and understanding that that's a beautiful thing, and that holds a lot of power if you go one step at a time. So yeah, feel free to start studying or move towards a new direction. This is later in the year. We have the star, yay, and we have the sun, yay. So the outcome of this reading, wow. So that's great. Very balanced energies, the star and the sun. It's the sky, like glowing and illuminating everything that we need to see, embracing new energies, embracing new parts of ourselves, understanding at a deeper level the parts of ourselves that maybe are a little bit in the superconscious, feeling more connected to all of the levels of who we are. This is a fantastic outcome for this year. This is kind of what month are we in? June, July, August. This is getting towards like December, January, February next year. There's going to be a nice big expansion and almost like a culmination of growth, the positive celebration that comes from the culmination of a big growth process that we've all been in, that we've been perhaps working really hard through. I don't really like the word struggling, but more embracing the challenges of what we've been pushed into with these big transformational energies lately. It's an energy of fecundity. It's an energy of abundance. And I know that's a kind of a cliche word, but I want to itemize what that means to me. So abundance in the sun is more that everything is automatically taken care of. It's not necessarily about making huge amounts of financial wealth. It's about something needs to happen for you in your business, for example, and you think, I don't know how I'm going to make that happen. I don't know how that's going to happen. It's seemingly difficult in your mind, but somehow the universe just goes click and it just happens, and it often comes to you in a way that you absolutely didn't expect. So when I talk about abundance, I mean more things just moving into alignment. There's no aspect of greed or wealth in that. There's just an aspect of alignment, of being in the ability to just see the next step forward, and then that platform takes you to the next step, and that one takes you to the next step, and everything is provided. All of the bits and the pieces of the puzzle that make sense, that's all provided. That's what abundance means to me in the sense of the sun, because the sun shines on the ground and the seeds just pop up. That's it. There's nothing complicated about that. And we have to remember that. It's a natural thing. It just happens. If you put seeds on the ground and you put sun and water on them, they just grow. It's not hard. And I think that's where we need to get to with our alignment in our consciousness when we embrace the sun card, for example, as a major arcana card. We need to understand that things are easy, and the perception that things have to be difficult in order to get somewhere. This is a learned response. So we're seeing, with these being major arcana cards, later in 6 to 12 months, we're looking at our collective consciousness seeing much more ability to move into ease and grace and allowing of things to just pan out the way that they need to. And the Justice card is here, making sure that things are even, things are working as they should, everybody's where they need to be. The Wheel of Fortune is making sure that we meet the people that we need to meet at the times that we need to meet them, and that we are taking one step at a time towards our goal of fulfillment. The Star is very much about being in our flow between being grounded and then allowing ourselves to go into more of an expanded state as well. So we don't have to focus on being grounded all the time. We are allowed to move through different states of consciousness. This is becoming more and more a theme that I've noticed in the last 6 months, is that the focus on being grounded isn't necessarily the main thing now. We do get to move into other realms of ourselves, and we don't have to be so completely entrenched in our physicality all the time. I think in the past 10 years it's been very important to be grounded, but my feeling has been that over the last year that's become less and less a key, and the key now is to move into the expanded states based on the work that we've done, so that we can be held by the previous foundational work that we've done on ourselves, so that we can safely expand without losing a sense of self, without getting lost and detached from our essence. I hope this is making sense to you. It kind of makes sense to me as I'm saying it. But yeah, the Star in this reading to me is showing that we are having big shifts in consciousness in the collective, and it makes me feel very happy. It also shows that we are balancing emotional and physical states. So in this card we've got water being poured onto the earth and water being poured into the pond. And so we are learning to live in these different states and learning to find the intricacies of what our internal balance is, learning to give, learning to receive, learning to hold, learning to let go. There's a lot in that card. And we are also allowing ourselves to really be seen and shine on a much bigger level with the sun and the star together. It's really all about being seen for all that we are. So when we go back to this card that was at the foundation about feeling bound up and hemmed in and held back, I think our goal for this year is to do what we need to do to work hard to continue to build and break through that feeling of being hemmed in and held in and being stuck, so that we can really embody and move into these archetypes of the star and the sun, of expanded, aligned and fuller consciousness, experiencing more of who we are on all levels. That all makes sense to me when I look at this reading in this kind of flowing pattern. So we do need to continue to anchor ourselves with the Hermit, to come back into our own center and keep pulling yourself back in and anchoring yourself in what your responses are and your personal energy, so that you can continue to take steps through this process as the next 12 months goes through. So yeah, it's a great reading. I actually feel really quite excited about that. And I think that as a collective, it looks like we're doing pretty well. I'm really excited to see what these new alignments are and these new people that are coming into our lives with the Wheel of Fortune, that'll help us to be working with the right people at the right time, being in the right place, the right moment. I definitely feel like that's happened for me, moving into this new energy in Queensland. So yeah, thanks very much for listening. I hope you guys got something valuable from this reading. Have a nice day.